The IADC DDR Plus was developed by the IADC Advanced Rig Technology Committee's Drilling Control System Subcommittee. And I'm here today with two of the experts that drove this process. Hi, I'm Mike Kilalia with IADC and drillingcontractor.org. And with me today are Robert Van Kulenberg, who is with Noble, and he is co-chair of the Drilling Control System Subcommittee and also vice chair of the IADC Advanced Rig Technology Committee. I also have to my immediate left David Shackleton with Independent Data Services, which developed the digital representation or schema of the DDR Plus. And David's also put a lot of time and effort into making this project come through. So gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today. So Robert, I'd like to start with you to set the stage on what drove the need in the industry for improved data reporting.
Well, the DDR has been around a long time, and was pretty successful up to now, and still is actually. But it lacked the granularity that the companies and the industry now need to drive their operation to the next level of efficiency. So that's why the IADC started with the project to provide that to the industry and make it more versatile in the use.
Okay, thanks. So David, the subcommittee put together a pretty thorough survey and sent that out to key stakeholders in the drilling contractor community, operators, data acquisition companies, service companies, manufacturing. Can you tell us, and you spent a lot of time analyzing that data, can you tell us what that told us that the industry wanted as far as data?
Exactly. Not just drilling contractors we got the results back from, but also operators and data specialists and consultants, like you say. I think two things, or really three things came out of that. One was the response was nothing was wrong with the DDR in the first place, which kind of reinforces the need for IADC to lead this, lead improvements and guide them. And the two other things, digitization, and really by that, members were probably thinking the standardization of the digitization of the report. And the other one there, granularity, like Robert just touched on, the need for more codes, more activity codes. There are more than 23 things going on in a rig. So we, as a committee, looked at all the pieces of equipment on the rig, all the activities that go on the rig, and have incorporated those into the new DDR Plus.
Okay, great. So Robert, maybe you could dive down into that a little bit more and tell us what does the new DDR Plus provide that we didn't have in the previous version?
Well, I must first stress that there is full backwards compatibility with the existing DDR. The existing set of codes are fully supported with that. But we created more deeper levels in where activities can be defined in a more precise way. The big change is that it is divided into equipment and activities and how you use them. So you really create a really rich set of options you have to determine what you're doing in your operations. And by providing that, companies can get more insight in where their efficiencies are, where their inefficiencies are, and where, for example, hidden downtime is. And the hope is that the industry then can use that to cope with the modern times, basically.
Okay. So to maintain backwards compatibility is a very important point. And originally there were 23 drilling codes and I believe 5 completion codes in the old legacy DDR. And we had those, we kept those, we made some minor updates and corrections on them, but very few. And then we added 6 additional codes, is that correct? And then David, can you tell us a little bit about the equipment and activity subcodes? How many of those are there and how did those come about?
So as a subcommittee, we did a lot of research and collected together subcodes that are already in use in the industry. Each drilling contractor will generally have their own set of codes. I know my company, IDS, have many sets of codes. So we surveyed data companies, contractors, and encouraged them to offer up their code sets. And we put all those together into a giant big bucket. And finally came up with this system where you'd have the main code as before. And then alongside that, you have an activity and even a sub-activity. And alongside that, the equipment and the sub-equipment code. So what we've ended up with is all these into a giant big bucket, and then we've eliminated ones that repeated, and we're left with a pretty complete set of codes and subcodes.
Yep. So as Robert said, that allows for a high degree of granularity.
Yes.
And you can see on the screen how many subcodes for activities and for equipment we have, but there are many dozens of them, and each one of the activity subcodes and equipment subcodes has a unique number. Also, one of the big advances we've made compared to the legacy version is we've developed a much more improved digital representation of the DDR+. David, that was your company's work. Can you tell everybody about that a little bit, please?
So various companies have worked on digitizing the IADC tower sheet, and they have their own version of it. Some of them use WITSML as a basis for that. What this DDR Plus does is standardize that digital foundation, which is very powerful. It standardizes the language, if you like, how we talk about the data that goes into the DDR Plus, which will allow greater collaboration between service providers, MUD companies, any company that is provided or that can provide data for the DDR Plus can now do it in a standardized way for multiple drilling contractors. That's the big breakthrough here.
And this is all in a WITSML format.
Yeah, WITSML-based format.
Okay, WITSML-based.
With some parts that are tailored towards specifically the DDR Plus.
Okay, great. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel at all here as far as data formatting.
We're trying to standardize the shape of the wheel, the makeup of the wheel, the language.
Okay. Well, thank you, Robert and David, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And I hope that you all in the audience will go to our website, iadc.org/DDR Plus or ddrplus.iadc.org to learn more about the new standard in drilling reporting from IADC. And for those of you who still use the traditional paper form, that is still going to be available. There's no plans to eliminate that. We have updated that to include the new all 34 operational codes and made some other tweaks on it. So it's going to be a much more useful document, in my opinion, for you all. And that will be available still in the 2-tower form and the 3-tower form. So you can look for that coming out of our IADC bookstore in the near future. So once again, I want to thank our panelists, Robert Van Coolenberg of Noble and David Shackleton of IADS. And again, I'm Mike Kilalia with IADC, drillingcontractor.org. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.